So the question is, if one steps into the light, starts living in the light, one could potentially feel like all this is going on, I don't need to be engaged with it, and be a recluse and step out of that and not be involved in any way. And I'm kind of reading into the question a little bit, that whether is that the desired outcome, is that the direction we want to go in, or is there something more to it? It's an important question, because the journey, the progression, as it typically happens, one is fairly unconscious early, and then one is occasionally conscious, and then one is more and more conscious and occasionally unconscious, and then one is more and more connected with light. So it's actually a very high state of awareness to get into this connection with the light and living in the light. So initially, when that starts happening, one may feel that is so different than a previous way of living, that 10 years back, 20 years back, I was so not conscious and mostly caught up in the world. Now I am mostly not caught up. And we can see how good that feels and how positive that is. But it can be a little confusing, because we may feel so drawn to it that we may feel like, I don't want to touch anything in this movie. It's such a mess that I don't know if I want to go there. And this could include, it could go as far as you want it to go. I mean, some people might say, I'm not going to engage with things happening way out there. Whether it's a war or climate crisis, or it may be a lot closer. One might say, well, my family members, it's a mixed bag. I'm going to completely distance myself from that. And I know I'm in the light. I'm not going to get into all this. Or, of course, work can be like that. It can feel like, ideally, I'd like to not have to work for the typical corporation, not have to work with the typical people, because they're so, in their own way, caught up, and that's painful. So we may want to disengage from that world, from the world of typical work, livelihood type situations. So it's actually a natural tendency, because if we see something really good, which feels good, why would I stick my neck into something that feels so yucky? And that is an intermediate phase, I would say. It's understandable, and it's quite reasonable to feel that way. However, it's not the point where we have a fully developed understanding and relationship with light. So I would say, for somebody in that phase, keep developing your relationship with light, but don't go to the extreme of cutting off relationships with the world and distancing yourself and holding yourself above all the other pathetic folks out there. So not wanting to do that. I would say you want to keep the engagement going. Certainly, in some cases, you may scale it back. That might make sense, but not to the extent that you are completely aloof, reclusive. Because, the journey of growth involves transcendence, integration, embodiment. And this is like the grand overall framework that I've, described in Just Be. The transcendence aspect is very important. You could say, in the context of light, it is getting to know light firsthand, not reading about it, not thinking about it, but getting to know light firsthand. That happens when you transcend. Because if you're stuck in this reality, you feel like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what light is. I've never seen this, this transcendental light. So transcendence is important, but then the integration, which is the part that doesn't seem particularly exciting and attractive, but that's very, very important, because that's what a lot of our engagement with the world brings out of us. It helps us integrate. So typically, a part of me is up in the light, and I know it, I love it, no problem. And I'd like to pretend like that's all there is to me, this part in the light. But typically, there's a part of me which is still down there, which is somewhat unconscious, somewhat has limiting patterns and beliefs. And it continues to stay in the dark. So you have this sort of split personality, like part of me in the light and part of me in the dark. And the integration process, which happens extensively every time you step into a workplace or step into a family situation, it brings out in you two things. One is the part that is uncooked, the unconscious stuff. It is causing a lot of it's pushing a lot of buttons, and you feel like, I'd love to react in this way. You can't hold yourself back almost. It's so strong. Part of us, which is in the light, needs to be consciously brought into this situation, because we may think, oh, I'm going to meditate in the evening, I'll be in the light. No, it's not the evening meditation. It's now, in the middle of the day. You got to bring that light to the moment. Maybe you're just stuck in a traffic jam. It seems like such an ordinary thing. But as soon as you see that finite taking over, and that's the thing. It's a reminder to bring the light. So when we do this, we bring the light, and the unconscious stuff, it's telling us, hey, it's there. That's why it bothers us, whatever's going on. So we get a chance to now look at that and work through that. So working through that means being aware of it and releasing it. Whatever patterns are there, whatever core beliefs that are limiting, we have to become friends with it, get reacquainted with it. We got to be with it, love it, and release it. So when we can do that, the unconscious is no longer exerting a force of its own, a pull of its own, and keeping us trapped in the finite. So that's why I would say, if you become a recluse, you're missing the opportunity to do that integration work. Yes, you can feel like you're more in the light, and that's wonderful. But at some point, you have to address the unconscious stuff. So in fact, all our day-to-day activities become beautiful invitations for us to do the integration work. So living in the light doesn't mean disengaging with this finite reality, because the finite reality has something important to offer us, which is how to purify our consciousness further so that we're fully available to the light, fully free, and fully what I call emissaries of the light, so that we are pure, transparent channels of light. So that is more what it looks like after you processed and gone through the integration work and mostly cleaned that up, so that now you are present. You're still engaged with the world, but as a very powerful presence of light. So the more we're seeing, we're getting into that mode, the more you know that you really reached a point where this finite reality has less and less to offer you in terms of growth. You've mostly graduated because the finite reality actually starts becoming irrelevant, but not in a disengaging kind of way. You're still very present, but it is not something you are needing for further refinement of consciousness. You are more and more present as an ambassador of light, as an emissary of light, to demonstrate to the finite reality that this is real. Living in the light fully is a real possibility. So you become an exemplar of that, a model of that. That has got tremendous beneficial benefits to all of us. So that's what we're moving towards. When you choose light, life becomes increasingly joyful, purposeful, and inspired. I invite you to join me to explore the realms of light, the infinite possibilities that light offers.